The stars had never looked so beautiful, and yet so threatening. Admiral Day-Wan stood on the bridge of the warship Earth's Pride, watching the massive alien fleet gather before them. Ships of 47 different species floated in the darkness of space, all pointing their weapons at the small human delegation. It had been only 3 years since humanity discovered faster-than-light travel. 3 short years since humans first reached beyond their solar system and met the Galactic Council. At first, the meeting seemed like a dream come true. Humans were not alone in the universe. There were friends to make, knowledge to share, and worlds to explore together. But the dream turned into a nightmare. Ambassador Hannah stood beside Day-One, her hand shaking as she read the Council's final message. "They say we're too dangerous," she whispered. "They say we grow too fast, learn too quickly. They compare us to something they call the Scourge." Day-One clenched his fists. He had read the history files the Council provided. The Scourge was an ancient race that nearly destroyed the entire galaxy 10,000 years ago. They expanded without control, consumed resources, and made war on anyone who stood in their way. The Council barely survived. "We're not them," Day-One said firmly. "We came in peace. We followed their laws. We asked only for a chance to prove ourselves." "They don't care," Hannah replied, tears in her eyes. The vote was 46-1. Only the Vel species voted against our exile. The rest, they fear us. Captain Tae-Young entered the bridge, his young face grim. He had been overseeing the evacuation of human civilians from the disputed colonies. "Sir, all our people are back in Council-approved space. But the Council fleet is moving. They're deploying something massive." The view screen flickered to life. A Council representative appeared, its form shifting and translucent. "Humanity," it spoke through the translator. "You have refused to accept population limits. You have refused to stop military expansion. You have refused to submit to genetic monitoring. The Council has no choice. For the safety of all galactic life, you will be quarantined." "Quarantined." Hannah stepped forward. "What does that mean?" "You will be confined to your current space. A barrier will be erected around all human-controlled systems. You will have 50 light-years of space. No more. You will remain there until you prove you can control your aggressive nature, or until you destroy yourselves." Day-One felt cold rage building in his chest. "You can't do this. We have rights. We are a sentient species." You deserve nothing," the Council representative interrupted. "You are young, violent, and unpredictable. The decision is final. Do not resist, or we will be forced to eliminate your species entirely." The transmission ended. Day-One turned to his crew. "Battle stations. We're not going down without a fight," Sir Tae-Young said quietly. "We have 12 ships. They have thousands. We can't win," Day-One agreed. "But we can show them that humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. If we're going to be prisoners, they'll remember the price." The human ships moved forward. They were small compared to the Council fleet, but they were fast and deadly. Human weapons, designed in secret over the past year, tore through the first line of Council defenders. 3 alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But it wasn't enough. For every ship humans destroyed, 10 more took its place. The Council's technology was older but refined over thousands of years. Their shields absorbed human weapons. Their counterattacks were precise and devastating. The Earth's pride shook as weapons fire struck the hull. Alarms blared. Crew members rushed to repair the damage. Day-One watched as one by one the human ships fell. The victory, the determination, the hope's light, all destroyed. "Sir," Tae-Yang shouted. "The barrier is activating." On the view screen, reality itself seemed to tear. A massive wall of energy appeared, surrounding the human solar systems like a cage. It pulsed with power, creating a sphere 50 light-years in diameter. Earth and its 12 colony systems were now cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Day-One's ship was barely holding together. "Tae-Young, take an escape pod. Get to the Prometheus." "That ship is still intact. I won't leave you, sir." "That's an order, Captain." Day-One grabbed the younger man's shoulder. "Someone has to survive this." Someone has to lead our people through what comes next. His voice softened. We will survive this, Taeyang. And someday, somehow, we will be free again. We will show them what humanity truly is. Another explosion rocked the ship. Taeyang hesitated, then saluted. Yes, sir. It's been an honor. He ran to the escape pods. Daewon turned back to his remaining crew. All hands, evacuate. I'll buy you time. As his crew fled, Daewon sat in the captain's chair one last time. He aimed the Earth's Pride at the largest council ship and pushed the engines to maximum. The ship accelerated, trailing fire and debris. For humanity, he whispered, the Earth's Pride struck the council flagship like a spear. Both ships erupted in a massive explosion that lit up the darkness of space. Captain Taeyang watched from the escape pod, tears streaming down his face. Around him, the barrier solidified, cutting humanity off from the galaxy. In the distance, he could see Earth, small and blue and alone. The Galactic Council had won. Humanity was imprisoned. 50 light-years of space was all they had now. Resources were limited. Hope seemed lost, but Taeyang remembered Daewon's final words. Humanity would survive. They would grow stronger. And one day, they would return. He guided his pod toward the Prometheus, where the survivors were gathering. The ship's communications officer hailed him. Captain Taeyang, you're now the ranking officer. What are your orders? Taeyang looked at the barrier, then at the stars beyond it. We go home. We rebuild. We remember. And we prepare for the day when this prison becomes our fortress and our exile becomes our greatest strength. The Prometheus turned toward Earth, carrying the last free humans back to their homeworld. Behind them, the barrier pulsed with energy, a constant reminder of their imprisonment. The galaxy had abandoned humanity. Now humanity would forge its own destiny. 200 years had passed since the Great Barrier trapped humanity. The galaxy had moved on, forgetting about the quarantined species. But inside the prison, humanity had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Commander Jiwoo stood in the command center of the outer colony Helio 7, studying the reports with growing concern. The barrier surrounding human space was killing them slowly. Any ship that touched it lost power. Any probe sent through it was destroyed. The energy field drained everything that came near it. Worse, humanity was running out of room. 50 light-years seemed like a lot of space. But with 12 colony worlds and billions of people, resources were becoming scarce. Ships fought over mining rights. Colonies accused each other of hoarding supplies. Earth's government tried to maintain control, but the outer colonies were rebelling. Commander, one of Jiwoo's officers approached. Earth's fleet is demanding we hand over our stockpile of rare metals. They say it's for the good of all humanity. Jiwoo's jaw tightened. Tell them we need those metals to survive. We're not Earth's supply depot. They say if we refuse, they'll take them by force. War was coming. Not with aliens, but between humans themselves. 2 centuries of imprisonment had pushed people to the breaking point. Some wanted to surrender to the council and beg for mercy. Others wanted to die fighting against the barrier. Most just wanted to survive another day. Gu had spent her entire life studying military history. She was the great-granddaughter of Admiral Daewon, the hero who died fighting the council. His blood ran in her veins, and his determination lived in her heart. She knew that if humanity went to war with itself, the council would win without firing a shot. She opened a secure channel to all the colony leaders. This is Commander Jiwoo of Helio 7. I'm calling for an emergency summit. If we don't stop this madness now, we'll destroy ourselves. The summit took place on neutral ground, a small station floating between Earth and the colonies. Leaders from all 12 worlds gathered, angry and suspicious. Fights broke out in the corridors. Old grudges surfaced. It seemed hopeless. But Jiwoo stood before them all and spoke with her grandfather's courage. The council wanted us to die. They expected us to tear ourselves apart. Every moment we fight each other, we prove them right. Is that what we want? To give them the satisfaction of watching us fail? What choice do we have? Asked an Earth representative. We're trapped. We're dying. The barrier gives us no way out. Then we stop trying to go out, Jiwoo said. We go inward instead. We advance. We evolve. We become something the galaxy has never seen before. She presented her plan. Every human world would contribute resources to 3 secret projects. First, the Genesis Project would study the barrier itself and reverse engineer Council technology. Second, the Shadow Fleet would build new warships using experimental designs. Third, the Ascension program would push human evolution to its limits through genetic improvement and cybernetic enhancement. You're talking about changing what it means to be human, someone protested. Talking about surviving, Giwoo replied. The Council feared us because we adapted quickly. Let's prove them right. Let's adapt so well that when we finally break free, we'll be unstoppable. The vote was close, but Giwoo's passion convinced them. The Survival Accords were signed. Humanity united under a single purpose. Not just to survive, but to transcend. Dr. Haeon-woo led the Genesis Project. He was a scientist who had spent his entire career studying the barrier. While others saw it as a prison wall, he saw it as a puzzle to solve. He collected every piece of data, ran countless experiments, and slowly began to understand the barrier's secrets. It's not just a wall, he explained to Jiwoo during one of her visits to his laboratory. It's a dimensional anchor. The Council is using technology that bends space itself, but they don't fully understand it. They're using ancient knowledge without knowing how it truly works. Can we break it? Jiwoo asked. Breaking it would take more energy than our sun produces, Haeon-woo said. But we don't need to break it. We need to go around it. Around it? It surrounds us completely. Haeon-woo smiled. Not in all dimensions. The barrier exists in 3-dimensional space. But what if we could move through the 4th dimension? What if we could phase through it like a ghost passing through a wall? The idea was radical. Humans barely understood 4-dimensional physics, but Haeon-woo was convinced it was possible. He just needed time and resources, while Haeon-woo worked on dimensional travel. Captain Yuna was building the Shadow Fleet. She had been a test pilot before the exile, and now she commanded humanity's most advanced ship construction project. The new ships weren't just fast or powerful. They were invisible, silent, and could operate on completely new principles. We're using quantum field manipulation, Yuna explained to the Accord leadership. These ships don't just hide from sensors. They exist slightly outside normal space. They can pass through solid objects, become intangible at will, and strike from angles the enemy can't predict. The first test flight of the stealth ship Shadow of Earth was a success. Yuna piloted it through an asteroid field without being detected by any scanner. She flew it right up to a monitoring station, and the crew inside never knew she was there. But the real breakthrough came when Haeon-woo combined his dimensional research with Yuna's stealth technology. Together, they created something revolutionary, a ship that could phase between dimensions, slipping through barriers that should have been impossible to cross. We can get out, Haeon-woo announced at the next summit. We can escape the prison. Celebration erupted across human space. Finally, after 200 years, freedom was within reach. Ships were prepared. Colonies made plans for expansion beyond the barrier. Earth's government announced a grand return to the galaxy, but Jiwoo stood and raised her hand for silence. No, we don't leave yet, the room erupted in protest. Are you insane? Someone shouted. We have a way out. We have a way out, Jiwoo agreed. But we're not ready. The Council has had thousands of years to perfect their technology. They have 47 species working together. We've had only 200 years of desperate survival. If we go back now, they'll crush us again. Then what do you suggest? Jiwoo's eyes were hard as steel. We wait. We prepare. We use the time we have left to become stronger than anyone in the galaxy. When we finally return, we don't return as refugees begging for a second chance. We return as a force they cannot ignore, cannot defeat, and cannot dismiss. How long? Someone asked. As long as it takes, Giwoo replied. Our grandparents were imprisoned. We are imprisoned. Perhaps our grandchildren will be imprisoned too. But when we finally step through that barrier, the galaxy will tremble. not in fear of what we might do, but in awe of what we have become. The vote was difficult, but GUE's vision won. Humanity would remain in its prison by choice, using the time to grow stronger. The barrier that was meant to contain them became their training ground. The exile that was meant to break them became their forge. Captain, Yuna took the shadow of Earth on its first dimensional jump. The ship flickered, phased through reality itself, and for just a moment touched the space beyond the barrier. Yuna saw the stars of the free galaxy, then pulled back into human space. "It works," she reported. "When we're ready, we can leave whenever we want." Elwu nodded. "Good. Now we build 1,000 more ships just like it. And we wait for the right moment." That moment would come, but not yet. Not until humanity was ready to change the galaxy forever. 500 years had passed since the galaxy locked humanity away. In that time, the great civilizations had forgotten about the quarantined species. Earth was just a story now, a warning told to young aliens about the dangers of aggressive expansion. The Galactic Council believed the problem was solved. Humanity was either dead or tamed. They were wrong on both counts. Fleet. Admiral Sang-woo walked through the command deck of the flagship Eternal Defiance, observing his fleet with pride. 1,000 ships floated in formation, each one a masterpiece of technology that the galaxy had never seen. These weren't the primitive vessels his ancestor Daewon commanded. These were warships that could bend space, phase through solid matter, and strike from dimensions the Council didn't know existed. "Sir," Sentinel Daeyun approached, her movements smooth and precise. She was the first of the Ascended, a human who had undergone the full enhancement process. Her body was a perfect fusion of genetics, cybernetics, and human will. She could process information faster than any computer, react quicker than any pilot, and fight harder than any soldier. But she was still human, still capable of compassion and understanding. "The reconnaissance team is ready," Daeyun reported. "Agent Haewon is prepared to cross the barrier." Sang-woo nodded. "Good. It's time we learned what the galaxy looks like after 5 centuries. Agent Haewon stood in the dimensional transport chamber, her heart racing with anticipation. She had trained her entire life for this mission. Her ship, the Whisper, was the smallest and fastest vessel in the fleet. Designed to slip through the barrier undetected and gather intelligence? "Remember," Engineer Kitse said, making final adjustments to the ship's systems. "You're using the Voidbreaker engine. It'll tear through the barrier like it's paper, but the energy signature will be visible for about 3 seconds. Get far away fast." "Understood," Haewon replied. She climbed into the cockpit and activated the systems. The ship hummed with power, reality itself seeming to bend around it. "Dimensional breach in 3.2.1. The Whisper vanished. For a moment, Haewon existed in a space between spaces, where physics worked differently. Then she burst through the barrier into free space, and the stars of the galaxy spread before her for the first time in her life. She had only seen these stars in recordings. Now, they were real, and they were beautiful. Haewon spent 3 weeks gathering data. She visited outer systems, observed Council traffic, and hacked into their communication networks. What she discovered shocked her. The Galactic Council was dying. The 47 species that once ruled the galaxy were now weak and divided. Their technology hadn't advanced in centuries. They had become comfortable, lazy, and arrogant. Most of their military fleet was outdated. Many systems had minimal defense, but there was something worse. On the edge of galactic space, entire civilizations were being destroyed. The Council called it the Return, and they were terrified of it. Mysterious ships appeared without warning, attacked colonies, and vanished. Council forces tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Haewon recorded everything and raced back to human space. When she presented her findings to the fleet command, the room fell silent. "They're helpless," one admiral whispered. "The Council that imprisoned us is falling apart. Something is killing them," another added. "Something they can't stop." Sang-woo studied the data carefully. Sentinel Daeyun stood beside him, her enhanced mind processing the information at incredible speed. These attack patterns, Dayun said, pointing at the tactical displays, they're not random. This is the work of automated war machines. Ancient ones, probably left over from the scourge that the Council feared so much. So the Council accidentally woke up an ancient threat, Sang-Woo said. And now they're paying the price. We could let them burn, one of the colony representatives suggested. They imprisoned us. They left us to die. Why should we help them? The room erupted in argument. Some wanted revenge. Others wanted to watch the Council fall. Many believed humanity should stay hidden and wait until both sides destroyed each other. But Sang-Woo raised his hand for silence. He thought of his great-grandfather, Commander Ji-Woo, who chose strength over escape. He thought of Admiral Day-One, who died protecting Earth. He thought of all the humans who suffered for 500 years in exile. I understand the desire for revenge, Sang-Woo said quietly. The Council treated us like criminals. They imprisoned us for being different. They expected us to die forgotten and alone. Every human here has ancestors who suffered because of their decision. He paused, looking at each face in the room. But we are not them. We didn't survive 500 years of exile just to become like the Council. We survived because we're better, stronger, more adaptable. And yes, more compassionate. You want to save them? Someone asked in disbelief. I want to show them what humanity truly is, Sang-Woo replied. Not the frightening primitives they feared. Not the monsters they imagined. But a species that helps those in need, even when those people are our enemies. That's the strength that matters. That's the power that will change the galaxy. Sentinel Dae-Yoon stepped forward. The Admiral is right. If we hide while civilizations burn, we prove the Council was right to fear us. But if we act, if we save them, we prove they were wrong about everything. The debate continued for hours, but eventually Sang-Woo's vision won. Operation Rekindling was approved. Humanity would return to the galaxy, but not with vengeance. They would return with strength tempered by mercy. Engineer Ki-tae began the final preparations. The fleet's Voidbreaker engines were charged. Every ship was ready. Every soldier knew their mission. Sang-Woo addressed the entire fleet through the communication system. For 500 years, the galaxy abandoned us. They built a wall around our worlds and told us we were too dangerous to exist among them. They were wrong. We are dangerous, yes, but not in the way they feared. We're dangerous because we refuse to give up. We're dangerous because we refuse to become like them. We're dangerous because we choose to be better. He took a deep breath. Today we break through the barrier. Not to conquer. Not to punish. But to remind the galaxy what true strength looks like. We return not as prisoners begging for freedom, but as equals demanding respect. Let's show them what 500 years of human determination has created. The fleet activated their engines simultaneously. 1,000 ships phased into dimensional space. The barrier that had held humanity for 5 centuries began to crack. Energy poured through the tiers. Alarms sounded across Council space as their ancient prisons started to collapse then. Like a dam breaking, the barrier shattered completely. Fragments of energy scattered across space like shards of broken glass. The prison was gone, and through the gap came humanity's fleet, emerging into galactic space like a force of nature. Their ships gleamed with advanced technology. Their weapons hummed with power. Their presence was undeniable. Across the galaxy, Council monitoring stations detected the breach. Panic spread through government chambers. The species they had imprisoned, the threat they had contained, was free, but Sang-Woo didn't attack. He simply broadcast a message on all Council frequencies, in all Council languages. This is Fleet Admiral Sang-Woo of Earth. 500 years ago, you imprisoned humanity for your safety. Today, we return for yours. The galaxy is under attack. You cannot stop it alone. You can stand aside and let us work, or join us and fight together. But do not try to stop us. That option is no longer available to you. The message echoed across 1,000 worlds. The galaxy would never be the same. The border worlds were burning. Sang-Woo watched the tactical display as another Council colony fell to the Devourer swarms. Millions of lives vanished in moments, their ships torn apart by machines that had no mercy and no fear. The human fleet arrived too late to save this world, but not too late to see what they were facing. The Devourers were unlike any enemy humanity had encountered. They were ancient war machines, perfectly designed to consume and destroy. Each one was the size of a building, covered in weapons and armor that shrugged off council attacks like raindrops.
Alice's.
Sangwoo ordered Sentinel Dayun studied the enemy through her enhanced vision. Her cybernetic implants processed more data in seconds than a normal human could in hours. They're using basic automation protocols. Probably 10,000 years old, maybe older. The technology is primitive by our standards, but they were built to last. Their shields operate on a frequency that council weapons can't penetrate. Can we penetrate them? Dayun smiled coldly. Easily across the system, council defense ships were retreating in panic. Their weapons' fire bounced harmlessly off the Devourer armor. Their shields couldn't stop the enemy's cutting beams. Ship after ship died, and the council forces fell back. Abandoning the colonies they were supposed to protect, then the human fleet arrived. The Eternal Defiance led the charge, followed by 100 Shadow Fleet vessels. They moved with perfect coordination, like a school of predators hunting prey. The Devourers turned to face them, their weapons tracking the new targets. The battle began. Human weapons tore through. Devourer shields like they weren't even there. Dimensional cannons fired projectiles that existed in multiple realities at once, hitting targets from angles that shouldn't exist. Quantum missiles phased through armor and exploded inside enemy hulls. Energy beams that manipulated the fabric of space itself sliced Devourers in half. The ancient machines fought back, but they were designed to fight enemies from their own era. They had no defense against weapons that broke the laws of physics as they understood them. Within minutes, the Devourer formation was in chaos. Engineer Kite watched from his station aboard the flagship, deploying cascade generators. Massive devices launched from the human ships, spreading across the battlefield like seeds. When they activated, reality itself seemed to twist. The space occupied by the Devourers collapsed inward, crushing the machines in gravitational forces that rivaled black holes. Dozens of enemies vanished in seconds, erased from existence. The surviving Devourers tried to retreat, but human ships were faster. Warlord Dong Haiyan commanded the enhanced special forces, leading boarding parties that phase-jumped directly onto enemy vessels. His soldiers wore powered armor that made them stronger, faster, and deadlier than any warrior the galaxy had seen. Breach successful, Dong Haiyan reported, his voice calm, despite fighting inside a Devourer mothership. Uploading virus to their command systems? The virus was a masterpiece of human coding, designed to turn the Devourer's own systems against them. Within moments, entire formations of enemy machines went dark, their automated brains confused and offline. The battle was over in 2 hours. Not a single human ship was lost. The Devourers that had destroyed Council fleets for years were now floating debris in the flagship command center. Sangwoo received a priority transmission. It was from Council Matriarch Veltara, supreme leader of galactic civilization. Her image appeared on the screen, her alien features showing shock and disbelief. What are you? We're human, Sangwoo replied simply. The same species you imprisoned 500 years ago? That's impossible. Your technology? Your capabilities. How did you advance so far? You locked us in a cage and expected us to die, Sangwoo said. Instead, we used that cage as a laboratory. We had nowhere to go but forward. So we went forward faster than you can imagine. Veltara's voice shook. The survival treaty prohibits your freedom. The barrier must remain for 1,000 years. You have violated the treaty as void, Sangwoo interrupted. You wrote it without our consent. You imprisoned us without trial. You abandoned us to die. We owe you nothing, then why are you here? Why fight for us? Sangwoo looked at the tactical display, showing the saved colony worlds. Because it's the right thing to do. Something you apparently forgot. Across the border region, human forces were pushing back the Devourer advance. World after world was saved. Council forces watched in amazement as these newcomers accomplished in days what the Council couldn't do in years, but not everyone was grateful. A Council admiral named Dexler gathered a fleet and moved to intercept the humans. "They are a threat," he transmitted to his forces. "The old laws must be enforced. We will drive them back into their prison." The Council fleet numbered 300 ships, all fully armed and ready for battle. They positioned themselves between the humans and the next devourer target. "This is Admiral Dexler to human forces. You are in violation of Council law. Return to your designated space immediately or face destruction." Song-woo didn't want to fight the Council, but he couldn't allow their pride to cost more lives. "This is your last warning, Admiral. Move aside. People are dying while you play politics. We're the law of this galaxy. You will obey." Song-woo sighed. "Sentinel Dayun, show them." The Shadow Fleet activated their phase drives. 300 human ships became translucent, like ghosts made of light. They flew directly toward the Council blockade. Dexler ordered his ships to fire. Thousands of weapons unleashed energy at the approaching humans. But the beams and missiles passed right through the phase-shifted vessels, hitting nothing but empty space. The human ships flew through the Council fleet like it wasn't even there. Solid matter meant nothing to vessels that existed slightly outside normal reality. They emerged on the other side unharmed and untouched, and resolidified and continued toward the endangered colonies. Dexler stared at his screens in disbelief. What kind of technology is this? Behind his fleet, the Devourers arrived, sensing easy prey. The Council ships had to choose: chase the humans or defend themselves. They chose survival. Meanwhile, human forces reached the next target world just as the Devourers attacked. This time, Song-woo deployed everything: dimensional weapons, cascade generators, enhanced soldiers, advanced tactics that combined 500 years of desperate innovation. The Devourer mothership was the size of a moon. It was covered in weapons and armor. Council forces had tried to destroy it for 3 years with no success. The human fleet destroyed it in 20 minutes. Kitae's cascade generators collapsed the space around the mothership's core, while Donghaean's soldiers disabled its defenses from inside. The massive vessel imploded, its ancient machinery finally meeting. Something stronger news of the victory spread across Council space. Species that had been fighting desperately for survival suddenly had hope, and that hope had a name: humanity. Veltara contacted Song-woo again. "Why?" she asked, her voice small. "After what we did to you, why save us?" Song-woo looked at the memorial display in his ready room, showing the names of every human who died during the exile. Millions of names, billions of dreams cut short. "Because," he said slowly, "we're better than you thought. Better than you feared. And we're going to prove it, one saved world at a time." The Devourer advance had been stopped for the first time in a decade. The species that the Council imprisoned had become their saviors. And across the galaxy, beings began to ask themselves what other mistakes they had made. 1 year had passed since humanity shattered the barrier and saved the galaxy from the Devourer swarms. The Council's central sphere, a massive station at the heart of galactic civilization, now hosted a very different kind of government. Chancellor Sang-woo stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly, looking at the representatives of 63 species. The old Council of 47 had dissolved in shame after the truth came out. 16 new species, previously denied membership, now had voices. And for the first time in galactic history, humans sat among the leadership. "The motion passes," Sang-woo announced, bringing down the ceremonial gavel. "The Genesis Accord is now law. All species will share technology freely, with restrictions only on weapons of mass extinction." Not everyone was happy with the new order. In the back rows, several alien representatives whispered angrily. Some viewed humans as conquerors who had seized power through military might. Others saw them as saviors who deserved their position. Both groups were wrong. After the session, Sentinel Dayun approached Sung-woo in his private office. She had been serving as ambassador of human interests, bridging the gap between humanity and the galaxy's many cultures. The Vexler faction is organizing protests, Daeyun reported. They say humans are forcing their culture on everyone else. Sangwoo rubbed his tired eyes. Leadership was harder than battle. What are we forcing on them? The right to choose their own governments? Access to better medicine? An end to the old hierarchy? Change, Daeyun said simply. Some people fear change more than death. There was a knock at the door. Dr. Miri entered, carrying data tablets. She was the director of the Great Sharing, the program that distributed human advances to other species. She had inherited the position from her mentor, the legendary Dr. Heian-Wu, who had died peacefully at age 143. Chancellor Mire said with a slight bow. The Vel species has completed their first dimensional ship. They're asking permission to test it. Sangwoo smiled. The Vel were the only species who had voted against humanity's exile 500 years ago. They had paid the price for that vote, losing influence in the council. Now they were humanity's closest allies. Permission granted. And send them our congratulations. Mire hesitated. Sir, there's something else. The Corvin Empire is requesting our help with their economic collapse. But they're the same species that led the vote to imprison us. Many humans are reluctant to help them. This was the constant struggle. How much mercy should humanity show to those who had wronged them? Sangwoo thought of his ancestor, Admiral Day-One, who died fighting for Earth's freedom. What would he want? Help them, Sangwoo said firmly. We don't choose who deserves our aid based on past crimes. We help because it's right. Across the station, Agent Hae-Won worked in the shadows as Director of Interspecies Intelligence. Her job was to find threats before they became disasters. And right now, she was investigating something that made her blood run cold. She entered Sangwoo's office through a private entrance. Her face grim. We found them, sir. The conspirators. She activated a holographic display showing communication records from 500 years ago. High-ranking council members discussing the Devourer threat, making plans. And then, most damning of all, deciding to exile humanity, not because they were dangerous, but because they were useful. They knew, Hae-Won said, her voice shaking with anger. They knew the Devourers would wake up. They exiled us hoping the ancient machines would destroy us. 2 problems solved with 1 solution. They wanted us dead. Sangwoo read the evidence carefully. Names of council members long dead, their descendants still holding power. Species that had gambled with human lives and lost? What do you recommend? He asked. Expose them. Show the galaxy what kind of leaders they had. Destroy their reputations. Strip their families of power. Sangwoo was quiet for a long moment. Revenge would be easy. The evidence was clear. The galaxy would support harsh punishment. But would it help? No, he said finally. We send this evidence to those species' own governments. Let their own people decide their justice. This isn't about revenge. It's about ensuring it never happens again. Hae-Won looked surprised, then nodded slowly. As you command, Chancellor. The evidence was released quietly. Within weeks, trials began on a dozen worlds. The guilty were punished not by human hands, but by their own people, disgusted by the betrayal. Former matriarch Veltara, now an advisor to Sangwoo, watched it all with sad eyes. You could have destroyed us, she told Sangwoo one evening. The evidence gave you perfect justification. You could have made an example of every species involved. What would that accomplish? Sangwoo asked. Fear? Resentment? A cycle of revenge that never ends? He shook his head. We didn't survive 500 years in exile, just to become tyrants. Veltara's expression was unreadable. You humans are strange creatures. The council feared you would be monsters. Instead, you're better than we ever were. We had good teachers, Sangwoo said. We learned from your mistakes. The greatest symbol of the new era was the Vanguard Corps. Sentinel Daeyun commanded this elite force. Combining human training with the unique abilities of many species, humans with their adaptability, Vel with their telepathy, Corvin with their strength, dozens of species working together as equals. On the training grounds, soldiers from across the galaxy practiced advanced tactics. A human sergeant taught alien recruits how to phase through walls. A Corvan officer showed humans how to maximize their strength through ancient breathing techniques. Knowledge flowed in all directions, but not all the sharing went smoothly. Some technologies were too dangerous. The cascade generators that could erase matter from existence, the dimensional weapons that could destroy planets, the genetic enhancements that could create super soldiers. Humanity kept these secrets locked away. Your hypocrites accused a representative from the militant Drac species. You keep the best weapons for yourselves while preaching equality. Sang-Woo didn't flinch. We know the cost of these technologies because we paid it in blood. 500 years of our people died developing them. We won't let others weaponize that sacrifice until they understand the responsibility that comes with it. So humans decide what's safe for everyone else? No, Sang-Woo replied. Anyone can develop these technologies themselves, just like we did. We simply won't hand you the keys to weapons you're not ready to control. If you want them, earn them. The Drax representative stormed out, but many others nodded in understanding. Responsibility mattered more than power. One evening, Sang-Woo stood aboard the rebuilt Prometheus, now a museum ship and memorial. He walked through the corridors where Captain Taeyang once commanded, where the last free humans gathered after the exile began, in the memorial hall. A wall displayed the names of every human who died during the 500 years of imprisonment. Millions of names, carved in light. At the very top, in letters of gold, Admiral Day 1. Veltara found him there, staring at his ancestor's name. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. "If we hadn't exiled you, humanity might never have become what you are now. You would have grown slowly, integrated peacefully. You would have been ... normal." Sang-Woo touched the golden letters gently. "Every soul on this wall paid the price for our strength. My great-grandmother Gi-Woo, Dr. Hyan was parents. Millions who never saw the day we broke free." He turned to face her. "The galaxy fears we'll seek revenge. They're wrong. We seek something much harder. We seek to ensure no species ever suffers what we endured." He gestured to the names. "This is why we help our enemies. This is why we share our knowledge. This is why we choose mercy over vengeance. Because we remember the cost of cruelty and we refuse to inflict it on others." Far away, in the darkness beyond known space, something stirred. The assembly's deep space sensors picked up a signal, ancient and powerful. A message in a language older than any council record. The translation teams worked for weeks to decode it. When they finally succeeded, the message was simple and terrifying. "The young ones have grown strong. Good. The true test approaches." Sang-Woo and Dae-Yoon stood in the command center, studying the message. "The Devourers weren't the real threat," Dae-Yoon said softly. "They were just machines. This is something else." "Then we prepare," Sang-Woo replied. "Not just humanity. All of us. Together." He activated the assembly-wide communication system. His message went to every member species, every colony, every ship in the fleet. 500 years ago, the galaxy abandoned humanity because they feared us. They were right to F.